everybody out there in podcast land. Welcome to episode number 133 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is October 4th, 2023, and my guest is Bethany in Oklahoma. One quick announcement. The eBay Fall Seller Update came out last week. Make sure you read it so you will be in the know. The only point I want to stress is that eBay is still moving towards no more unpaid items. It is a slow process, so be patient. The announcement included information about buyer-initiated offers, meaning you did not send an offer as a seller. The buyer just spontaneously sends you an offer. Those are now going to be immediate payment. So the buyer will have to enter their payment information before they can submit that offer. So eBay is still working on immediate payment for seller initiated offers and counter offers and auctions, but they are working through this piece by piece, so you should be getting paid much faster and won't have this 4 days to pay situation, which is very frustrating because you get a sale, you want your money, and you want to ship it and you want to move on. So make sure you read that announcement so you'll be in the know. Okay, on to the conversation with Bethany.
Okay, listeners, welcome back. I have my longtime internet friend.
Yes.
I call them eBay friends.
Oh, yeah.
Bethany with us. And tell us where you're located.
I live in Oklahoma City now. I moved by my husband. We're from Oklahoma City. We live in a suburb. And for 10 years, though, my husband joined the Marine Corps after college. So we lived all over. I lived in Florida and North Carolina and Virginia, and California is where we were before we moved back here about 6 years ago.
Okay. Were you ever outside the U.S.?
No, unfortunately. I mean, we've traveled a bunch outside in the last couple of years, but no, we were never stationed over there. We have a special needs daughter too, so that kind of kept us in the U.S.
Okay.
But I thrifted all over the United States and other places. I've always been a thrifter my whole life.
Oh, so you have a lot of different frames of reference for what's good, what prices are, what you find.
We were laughing. That's how I would get used to like a new city, because I would like MapQuest where the thrift stores were, garage sales.
Uh-huh.
I would print off my MapQuest and I would try to figure out where to go to get some good garage sales. And that's how I kind of learned how to, like, what was the new city I was living in. Because we moved every 2 years in the Marine Corps.
Oh, that's hard.
Years. I know. It was a lot.
Well, I've noticed that too since I moved to Greenville almost a year ago. And that's how I learn where things are, is going to estate sales and garage sales. It's like, oh, I didn't know this road came out here. I didn't know this was right next to the produce market. Okay, that makes sense. So it does get you out and around learning your new city. So
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we always start off with what brought you to eBay and your little story of, what was the catalyst that made you start?
Well, I have kind of a funny story. So I am a nurse. So I do work actually right now full time as a nurse, but I stayed home for 6 years while my husband was in the Marines. He's a pilot. He's super busy, gone all the time. So I was thrifting a lot. My youngest has autism, so she was in a lot of therapy. So her therapy was right by all these thrift stores. Well, she was in therapy all day, like 30 hours a week when she was 3 and 4.
Gosh.
So a lot of hours. I would go into thrift stores and buy like Lululemon, Anthropologie, learning about all the high-end brands. But, you get home and it doesn't really fit or whatever. Well, at the time, too, we lived by Disneyland, and my girls were obsessed with Frozen in 2014, the little movie called Frozen. And there was a huge, I remember hearing on the radio, there was all the Elsa dresses were sold out everywhere. Well, I was thinking, well, we just wore an Elsa dress at Disneyland, my 6-year-old, all day long. It was nasty, dirty. But I was like, they're selling their hundreds of dollars on eBay. I heard it on the radio or TV or something. So I looked into eBay and I was like, I'm just going to list her Elsa dress. And I took pictures of it on my wall, didn't measure anything. And it was dirty. I took pictures all around the bottom because there was a cake of dirt around the bottom. And I listed it for $100. Crazy. And so I remember being in my car, we were driving somewhere, and literally 2 hours later, I hear a cha-ching on my phone. And I sold it for $100 full asking price in 2 hours. Isn't that crazy?
And what did you pay for it?
Well, I think at the time I paid full price at the Disney store.
Okay.
$45, which that was a lot because I'm still a thrifty person.
Yeah.
But we were going to Disneyland. We lived in California, you know. But I thought that was like nuts. Like, what? I just sold this dress for $100 and I could go buy them new ones and other things with my profit.
Yeah, that's a special situation. I mean, you can't, I always say you can't go back and raise your kids over again. And a lot of what we spend as parents is money on experiences, because
and that's our belief. My house will be updated, but I could care less about updating it. We will travel. We travel all over the world thanks to my husband's job. And we went to Disneyland 27 times in that first year we lived in California. I bought
Suzanne. You're one of those people.
I'm kind of over Disney at this point.
I guess so.
My husband is very
every
much
other week in
oh my gosh,
a year.
But I mean, that's funny because that's how I got started, was that first sale. And then I was like, well, you know, you get stuff at thrift stores and you get home and it doesn't fit. So I had all this Lululemon at home that I bought in Anthropologie, and I went ahead and started listing it on eBay, just stuff I had around the house. And, you know, back in the day, Lululemon went for like $30 for a tank top.
Yes.
It does not do that anymore.
No, it's supply and demand has, you know, kind of equalized. Are you a yogi, or do you work out, or do you just
did. I mean, I probably worked out a lot more when I was a stay-at-home mom. Now I'm so busy. I tried to go to the gym, have a Peloton, but yes, I liked all that stuff. My husband's really into outdoor brands like Patagonia, and I would find all this stuff at thrift stores. And I was like, I get home and we didn't love it. So I started just selling my own things on my house. Yeah, I mean, I think I found you within the first couple of weeks of started listing on eBay because I was a stay-at-home. Weren't you a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah, and
selling on eBay.
As a matter of fact, we talked about that before we started. That when you're in a Facebook group, the admins can see when you joined and your activity and all that stuff. And I was like, Bethany's been in this group since 2014.
Yeah, so I found you
here
right away
because you're just consistent. And you stuck with it all this time. So, I mean, I remember you, and a lot of people are like that in the group. They kind of come and go, or they're not as active. And I'm like, what's going on with this person? What happened to them?
Well, I actually did. So I started watching all of your, you know, Money Saving Mondays and all your YouTube videos, and I would sell anything and everything I could find that I thought I could flip. So I did it really consistency for 2 years.
Yeah.
Then we moved back to Oklahoma and I started working as an RN again. And I kind of did it part-time, but I quit right during COVID. And so I don't know what happened, but I quit. I think I was trying to homeschool my kids doing Zoom, which that was not a fun experience. And I just opened up my eBay store actually again last May.
Okay.
And I'm amazed. Like, it just took off immediately. It's crazy. I've sold so much more. I'm averaging about $5,000 a month right now in sales.
Excellent.
Since May. So, but you know, I've learned, I know how to do it. So I did it all those years.
Right. And there are a lot of teachers and nurses and people in law enforcement that do eBay on the side just because you can. And I think it's just a fun hobby that you can make money with, you know?
It is. And I always love it.
I don't ever consider it work.
No.
It's just like, oh, I can't wait to work on my store today.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a busy mom of 3. My girls are super involved in volleyball, and we were at a game till 9:30 last night. And they have stuff every night this week, homecoming, just super busy. But I get up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I list. I end and sell similar. I ship. all that stuff. But I just love it. It doesn't feel like work to me, like you said. I love the hunt. I love the listing. I love the shipping. I actually love all of it. It's fun.
Right. And how old are your kids now?
I have a 17-year-old junior who's a cheerleader. So this is homecoming week. So this is super busy for her. I have a 15, almost 16-year-old sophomore girl who's a volleyball player. And volleyball is like one month, really, September. And it's every night of the week pretty much. And then I have a 12-year-old daughter with special needs, Abby, and she's in 6th grade.
Okay. Okay. So they're getting older.
Yeah.
Getting more expensive.
Yes. So my girls are like, even last week, my daughters are like, their friends are like, oh, I like your new white Hokas. And my daughter's like, my mom got them at the bins for $2.
Yeah. But you're like, honey, you don't have to tell everybody that.
Well, it's kind of a thing where we live. Teenagers love to thrift here.
Good.
Like my kids go to a private Christian school and they're all thrifters. They all love to go shopping at the Goodwill. They love to find good deals. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't think it was like that when I was in high school.
No, I don't either. And I have that habit too of somebody be like, oh, I love that top. And I'm like, got it at Goodwill. $2. I don't know. It's like a victory. It's like, I'm getting away with something.
I know. It doesn't feel like you're cheating a little bit, right?
Like nice brands and pretty much everything in my closet is from a thrift store. Some of it's for sale. But if I really, I love the way this fits and I love this pattern or whatever, I'll keep it. But everything eventually gets put back on eBay. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of sick of this. I'll just go ahead and sell it.
And I consider everything inventory. So like one of my favorite finds recently, I was at the bins and I just started going to the bins. I've been maybe like 6 times since I restarted. But this guy pulled out a puffer coat. He looked at the label and threw it back. And it was an Arc'teryx puffer coat, which is like.
Arc'teryx. Oh, that's a great brand. Yes.
And so I immediately grab it. And of course I get home and my husband loves it and I wash it and he's keeping it, but I'm like, I can sell that for $200. You know that.
Well, but if you ever need to, you can.
I can. Yeah. That's
like,
why I figured.
Sorry, hon, got to pay the electric bill. Money's tight. You're going to have to go to Walmart and get something cheap. I'm selling this coat.
Oh, yeah. He acts like he doesn't like all the clutter until he finds stuff like that. And
right.
I'm a lot more organized than I used to be. I've learned so much. I'm trying to redo my eBay.
I
have a death pile. I listed everything I needed to list this morning. I'm learning that from you. So.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Don't go shop until you list your other things.
I know it's so hard. As a matter of fact, I've got some things to list and I was just thinking, I just might have to drop by Goodwill on my way back from the post office because they always have good hats.
Oh yeah.
And like it looks like somebody donates all their hats. I don't know if they've died or if they just have too many. But there'll be a whole stack brand new.
So crazy.
I'm like, okay, I'm just going to drop in and look at the hats and the smalls and the dollar rack, I have condensed my thrifting time, but I haven't been in 2 weeks. So,
good.
That's my reward.
Oh, for sure.
But let's go back to $5,000 in sales a month, because I know the listeners are like, what is she selling?
I'm selling basically I used to sell everything. Big, little, it didn't matter when I was just a stay-at-home mom, but now I really just do clothes.
Okay. Don't ever say just a stay-at-home mom.
No, I know I wasn't.
One of the hardest jobs in the world.
And I'm very thankful I could do it.
I know, right?
Do it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
sorry.
I'm super thankful for those 6 years I was a stay-at-home mom. It was awesome.
Because nobody can do it the way you can.
No.
I don't care who you hire.
Having a special needs child in therapy, there was no way.
Right.
But so now my time is so limited. I say I'm a speed thrifter, I'm a speed lister, speed take. I have to have like hacks in my life to do everything right.
Right.
So I hack when I take pictures, I hack when I thrift. So I have to be very concise and I don't have much time to ship. So shipping clothing is so easy for me. I can do it very fast. I can weigh my items. I kind of know what things are going to weigh before I even list. So, and I'm trying to when I like comp an item at a store, go ahead and make a draft then. So that way
Really?
it's already saved. So when I'm comping, I'm drafting.
Good for
So if I think
you.
I'm gonna buy it, it's gonna be saved in my phone just so I can, and then so that's my first step is I save my draft. Then I get home and I take like 10 or 12 pictures and I measure and write it down on a piece of paper on a little book that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Then I carry that book everywhere with me. When I'm at work, at lunch, I list any like at a volleyball game. If I'm between sets, I'm listing all day between my little bits of time that I have. So that's my only way.
It adds up.
It does. And
It
I
does. You
my
might be able to do 10 to 15 listings just on those, waiting in the carpool line and sitting at the
yes.
game, waiting, waiting for your kid to play or whatever it is. Um,
Yes.
all that adds up. And
It does.
so,
And that's the only way I'm able to I'm trying to list 5 to 10 items a day, but I'm still selling quite a bit too. But I just, the things I'm selling, I've just learned through watching your videos. Like it's funny, things like it's still selling all these years later, 10 years
mhm,
later,
yeah,
those high-end brands. And I'm very thankful. I've been thrifting all over the country and our prices here are dirt cheap.
great. Well, and I
So
think, Anthropologie and Lululemon, those are not handmade items. Like Johnny that stuff's hand embroidered. That's what makes it so expensive is the time and the craftsmanship. And
yes,
it's been a higher end brand for a long time
a
and
long time.
probably always will be because of the way it's made. But I think those other companies and like mall brands that they call it fast fashion because
Mhm.
so much of it's made very cheaply, both the labor and the materials, and it doesn't really last very long.
Mhm.
um, it's hard to make money on those.
It is for sure. And I still buy items, especially if I can get them for $1 at the bins, I can sell for a quick flip, do 10 to 15. Like last week, I sold a couple of vintage nightgowns. I pulled out of the bins, and one was from the 60s with the pretty robe on top, but it had quite a bit of staining on the very top.
Hmm.
But I still sold it for $30 within a week, and I paid
Wow.
$1. And then it's funny, this vintage nightgown only sold for 15 yesterday, but I realized when I was packaging up, it was going to Iceland. Isn't that crazy? It just amazes with me what people buy
Right.
from other
And you're
parts of the
thinking,
world.
oh, is this for a photo shoot? Is this for,
Yeah.
what is this for? I always wonder that, like, what are they going to do with this?
Yes. So I do love vintage. Like I love Polo Ralph. I don't sell a lot of Polo Ralph Lauren because it's so oversaturated,
Hmm.
except for vintage items.
Hmm.
One of my favorite finds ever was my biggest sale ever, I think, was just a Ralph Lauren button up men's short sleeve shirt, but it had these sailboats all over it.
Hmm.
And I did it on auction, but that numerous people offer me $300 for it
Hmm.
or 400. But I was like, I'm just kind of like leave it on auction. I said I was doing it, and it ended up selling. I think it ended up selling for like $295. So not quite. I could have made more if I would have taken the offer, but since I had already put it on auction. So that is one of my biggest, like I sell like rare Ralph Lauren pieces I love. I sold one of my favorite items was a Pendleton shawl collar sweater I found in
Uh-huh.
California, with the beautiful Native American embroidery type thing.
Right.
Anything like that is one of my favorite things. I sold Pendleton. I don't like to sell linens, but I sell like, vintage Disney linens I've sold.
Hmm.
And Pendleton blankets and vintage Ralph Lauren sheets and those kind of things.
Hmm. Good for
Anything that's
you.
easy to ship is what I'm into right now.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at your whole life and see how you can fit eBay in. And everybody's life is different.
Mhm.
So you got to do what works for you. Um, so speaking of vintage Ralph Lauren, I went to an estate sale last week
Mhm.
and people say it was a clothing hoarder, but it wasn't dirty, nasty, filthy like a hoarder. It
Yeah.
was just so many clothes, just closets and closets full of clothes. And everybody in there was like, what's the deal? was this lady all about? Like, why did she buy all this? Did she have a store? Did she sell online? Because it was just, I was there for an hour and a half and all the clothing was $1. And boy, did I stock up things I
Oh
wouldn't
my,
really buy, because if you sell it for 20 and it was only $1, that's still a good sale. But
yeah.
somebody said, they're like, I heard Steinmart went out of business, but it's all here. A lot of things
That's
had price
good.
tags on it. Steinmart price tags, the brand Steinmart carried. Maybe she worked for Steinmart. I don't know. Nobody could really figure it out. There was one closet that was just, it was like 2 doors that opened. It was the whole length of the room, maybe like 12 feet long. And then there was a front rack, and then there was a back rack up higher, and
Mhm.
nobody could reach it. And so I go up to the estate sale worker and I'm like, hey, do you have like a stool or something I can stand on to get to that clothing in the back?
Uh-huh.
So I found all this great stuff because nobody had gotten up there to look at it. And it's just, that's the closest thing to the bins I've got is estate sales like that. But
Yeah, that's awesome.
just $1 a piece, it's a game changer because you can do the fast flip. And there were cashmere sweaters in there. I
Oh
found
my gosh.
that Missoni for Target.
That stuff sells good. That's what, and I learned from you to look at the top and look at the bottom, right? When people aren't looking at the very bottom.
Right.
Like I found some almost brand new Vionics the other day shoved in the bottom. And I mean, they look like they'd never been worn, and they were half price because they'd been there forever. So they were only $4.
Uh-huh.
So I always think about, I just learned so much from other people and what they sell, and just learning about what flips and that kind of thing. And I would say that our estate sales here are not cheap. Most times people run them like a businesses run them,
Mm-hmm.
and they mark all their clothing for like $10-15.
Really?
Yeah, I don't understand why.
Well, and
I
I
mean,
think it depends on how much they have to get rid of, because that quarter estate sale clothing lady,
yeah.
I was there on a Friday, which was the second day. All
Mhm.
clothing was $1. I came out of there with 2 of those IKEA bags full.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, yeah, if you want to come back tomorrow, we're going to be here. And we're probably going to be here on Sunday too, and mark everything down to 50 cents, because
Wow.
it was
Great.
just, they were going to have to carry all that out of there if it was left over. So it was probably over 1,000 pieces of clothing in there. I mean, it
Oh
was
my God.
unbelievable. And I'm like, this is my kind of estate sale.
Yes, yes. I do like estate sales. I used to go when I didn't work so much. My kids were little. I'm hoping once they get older and
Yeah.
they leave, I'll have more time to go. I really do enjoy it. I like garage sales too. I find them really good. In California, I came across a garage sale with a whole bunch of Disney snow globes
Oh, really?
for like $5 a piece. So of course I was not doing anything else. So I bought them all and I started shipping them. And man, those things are so hard to ship. And a few did break, but at the time it was pretty easy. You could take pictures of them and you could get a reimbursement. But you told me it's different now with broken items.
Yeah, the USPS is requiring so much when you file a claim, and they're requiring the buyer to take the item to the post office
Oh,
with the packaging so they can prove it was actually damaged. And then they don't even make the decision there. Well, they didn't at my post office. They're like, yeah, we have to send all this to the hub in Missouri or something. And someone there has to make the decision. And I'm like, and like, what buyer's going to do that? I don't want to ask them to do that. They throw the packaging away. They don't have it anymore. And it's an inconvenience. They shouldn't have to do that. So, the solution is to just add your own insurance when you go check out and print the label.
that's true.
It's not really, it's never really been more than like $1 or 2, or you
Mhm.
can plug pirate ship into your eBay shipping and do it through them and use their insurance. But it really has become a huge hassle to file a claim with the post office. And I think that's by design. They want people to get frustrated and not do it.
that does kind of keep me away from doing some of those more harder items
Well,
and just
yeah,
doing
you
the
just add your
clothing.
own insurance and then you're covered on that. But
Sure.
anyway, you said you have a whole list of items to talk about that you have.
I do. Just
That's
things
what we want to hear.
just things I've sold recently that I feel like some people, my favorite thing I just sold last week was that ugly Thanksgiving sweater. I think you posted about it, the Michael Simon sweater.
Yes.
And I still remember my very first Michael Simon was in the ugly, we had a cat on it and it had Christmas tree with Christmas trees.
Uh-huh.
And it was a bright pink sweater. It was my first $100 item, I think. Well, besides the Elsa dress. And I remember I paid $2 for it and I sold it for $100 really fast. And those
Good.
kind of things I will always pick up. I love ugly sweaters. I love the uglier the better to me. And that one was in perfect condition. And I found it in the bottom of a bin that people had gone through for an hour, I felt like.
Well, and I know people call them ugly sweaters, but some of them are quite beautiful
They
with
are.
sequin and the embroidery. And that was another estate sale find I stumbled into a few weeks ago. This lady had, I call them teacher sweaters, you know, and I didn't even go to the estate sale for that. They weren't even in the pictures. I just started finding them and they were $5 a piece.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
I've got
great.
them in my store for 99 to 150. And I've already
Oh
sold
yeah,
one for $75. So it almost paid for all of them. But
that's awesome.
I know I
Those things are
hesitate to
great.
use ugly because they're just so beautiful and they're themed. And
Mhm.
so and like the Michael Simon Disney ones, I think those are like the holy grail of the
Oh yeah.
sequin quote ugly sweater. I think it's like there's a Mickey Mouse Christmas one that I've seen sell for $200 to $300. So
I'm always looking
those,
out for
I
those.
did those a lot when I first started, and then they kind of fizzled out, and now they're back.
Yeah.
Like they're very popular again. So and I do pick up the Christmas ones all year, the vests and the cardigan
Mhm.
sweaters for, the Christmas parties and the ugly sweater parties. And now they're having
Those
ugly
still sell?
parties.
Do those still sell as good? Because I
We're
haven't done
going to
it
find out
order yet.
this year because I've been gathering them all year, like, a hunter gatherer, like when they're $1, it's super cheap, just to see what happens.
Oh
But
yeah.
now we're having ugly tie parties, or maybe they always have. I don't know. So the Christmas ties are also something to look at. But
I know.
again,
I do I used to sell ties quite a bit. I haven't listed any recently, but I need to do that. You're right. For those parties, I have some Christmas like Mickey Mouse one I got that I probably should list those. Some other things. I'm really big into high sell-through rates, I've realized. So I'm always looking to see if I see an item I think looks good quality. I look it up and see how many have sold and how many are listed.
mhm,
So I heard about this on a different YouTube site, but the tactical pants, the 511
mhm.
tactical pants. Well, I just found my first pair last week and I listed them this morning, but I noticed there were 35 listed and 75 sold. So they only sold for like $30, but that's still a pretty good. I like the quick flip. That's my
Mhm.
goal. I would say I'm
Right.
not a storage unit.
Yeah.
So I like things that can go fast. I found a pair of Public Rec shorts. They're like a high-end workout brand kind of, and they're only $65 new. But again, they're all listed. The ones I had were all listed for about $30, and there was 8 listed and 25 sold.
Mhm.
So I do like the fact that things that can fast flip. Viori, have you heard of Viori? That's a new brand.
Spell that.
BUORI. That's a big bolo.
Yes, I have heard of that.
So my first Viori I bought just for my husband. I found him in the swim trunk section. And I bought him like 4 pair of these shorts. I looked him up and they were CrossFit shorts, and he does CrossFit. And he loved them. And then all of a sudden I started hearing all these YouTubers, eBay sellers talk about this brand Viori. And we actually bought ourselves some full price joggers that were $90 because they are the most comfortable joggers you will ever wear. We travel a lot, so we wear them traveling. But I mean, I found a pair last week on a Sunday at the local Goodwill for $5.99, and I listed them for like $60 to offer a 52 in like 3 hours.
Really?
They sell so fast. So anytime I list them, I can sell it within there's like a 400, 500% sell through rate on those.
Great. Great.
I found my first Aviator Nation. Have you heard of that brand?
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of
I
that.
just found that for the first time in a really bad part of Oklahoma City. Like, it's funny because like the rich part of Oklahoma City, I don't ever find anything at those Goodwills. But I have these honey hole thrift stores where they mark everything for $1.99 or $2.99. Everything is so cheap.
Mhm.
And that sweatshirt was marked up to $4.99. And I sold it for 70, an offer of 75 in a week.
That's fantastic.
So
How many
that has a
items do you have in your store?
right now I'm trying to get to 500. Right now I have like 410.
Mhm.
But last month I sold 157 items. In a month.
Excellent.
That's a lot. And the average sales price was $31. So that's my goal, is to try to keep that increased.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to be better about buying better things.
Yeah, we all are, but it's hard. It's
I
like,
know.
oh, I've sold that before. I can't leave that behind because I know it sells. I've sold it before.
Yes.
Or that's going to be a fast sale. So,
But things change. I realize things that I used to sell pretty fast, even Sundance used to sell for me pretty quick. Sometimes
yes.
it's been sitting on smaller, like the smaller sizes. I'll
Uh,
always pick up, I usually always pick up Sundance, but it may not be as fast of a sale as I would like for it to be.
and for the listeners, that's Robert Redford's brand.
Yes, it's a
Yes.
great brand.
It's named after his town he lives in or his ranch or something. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's always on my list too. If it's, beaded or just a cool looking pattern or bright colors or not every single piece is going to perform, but yeah,
No.
it has to be special. So,
And I bought some shorts that sat all summer and finally took an offer for 15. So I realized probably won't pick up some Sundance shorts, but the dresses can still sell. And the sweaters for sure. I've sold a sweater before for like, close to $100. So
mhm.
um I just I'm trying to be like, last weekend I picked up 3 items, a Lululemon men's hoodie. Those still sell really well. I've been hearing that blazers sell well. So I sold my first Brooks Brother blazer.
Good.
That's a section I really don't look in that long, that I
Mhm.
used to not look in except for like J. Crew. I would
Yeah.
always look for J. Crew blazers. But I just started looking at Brooks Brothers and I found 3 for $2. Our thrift store marks them for $2.99
Okay.
with blazers. And I sold my first one for 50 last week after being listed for like about a week.
Good for you.
So
I used to sell blazers a lot. And then there's so many things that you have to look for, like the lining, the underarms, is it stained from perspiration? You got to turn them inside out, make sure the lining isn't ripped anywhere. All the buttons are there, like
it hasn't been
pockets.
tailored, right? For the
Yeah,
men's.
well, as long as you put measurements, I think you're okay. But like pockets can have holes in them, or
That's true.
I just kind of got burned out on all the things you have to look at to make sure you don't have to fix anything. I mean, a lot of things can be repaired, but that for the listeners, look at the underarm, turn it inside out. Anything that has a lining, turn it inside out and see what's going on the inside because the buyer's going to do that. So you want to make sure there's nothing going on in there.
And that is my biggest mistake, is not looking over items and I get home and they're flawed. That happens to me all the time. I'm like, I'm going to be better about it. And then I get home and I have a wool dress. I had this vintage Liz Claiborne dress, new with tags, and it was gorgeous. A wrap dress, size 18. And I looked at it the other day and it had holes all through it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm terrible with zippers. I forget to check the
Yeah.
zipper. And it's like, you get so excited. Oh, it's a Lily Pulitzer, hoodie with this great pattern. And you just get so excited. You just put it in your cart and then you get home. Ah, crap. This is broken. Or it's like bent. You can't repair it. And so that just goes up as imperfect in my store. And maybe somebody will buy it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I sell cashmere sweaters with holes in it. And I had a Lily Pulitzer dress, like you're saying, that had like the hem was a little bit take off,
Mhm.
and someone still bought it. I listed it for lower. So I still try to list my flawed items. This
Yeah.
one dress had too many though.
Yeah, I hate waste. It's like, oh, I have this, it's a good brand, it's a nice item, but there's just one little thing, and I just hate to waste it.
I do too.
So,
Right. So
okay.
one of the fun things about my husband's also an airline pilot, so we get to fly for free.
Oh
So
my, that's great.
that's kind of how I got started back into eBay. I was kind of just selling on Poshmark on the side, very little. And I was like, have you heard of travel hacking? It's like a whole
Oh,
thing.
what is that?
So using credit cards for points to fly or stay for free.
Okay, right.
So I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand if you're a thrifty person, but
Mhm.
we can fly for free. So I wanted to start applying for these business cards. And I heard you could apply for business cards if you had a small business, including an eBay business. And I
Mhm.
was like, well, I've done that before. I know eBay. So I'm just kind of do this on the side so I can get free hotel rooms.
Mhm.
So like we took our kids to Europe 4 times in 2022 and stayed for free every time with
Oh, wow.
credit card points. So when you fly for free and stay for free, you can travel quite a bit.
Mhm.
But it's been fun to go thrifting. I took my girls to thrift shops in London and we went to Paris over spring break. We went to all these thrift shops in Paris too. That's what I love. Is like thrifting in other parts of the country.
Mhm.
For our 20-year anniversary, we went to California and I got to go to my husband's like, for our anniversary, just let me go thrifting for like 2 hours in this really fancy neighborhood in San Jose or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's cool the stuff things you find in other parts of the country.
Yeah,
I
that's
love that.
true. And you mentioned going to thrift stores in affluent neighborhoods and being disappointed. And I had this discussion with a Goodwill manager years ago, and I'm like, why is that? And he's like, well, some stores can are self-supportive, like they can function well just with the donations at that store. Other stores
Interesting.
need merchandise brought to them. So it may come from, the store may be in an affluent area, but they're having to truck in stuff from donated to other stores that aren't as affluent, or like those Dropbox things. So there's no guarantee that just because a thrift store is in an affluent area, that the items in the store were donated from the residents in that area.
That's
They
so
move
true.
things around. There's Goodwill distribution centers where everything goes one place and then they send it back out. And so um, that's the explanation, because I was like, okay, so what does this store do?
Mhm.
He's like, this store is self-supportive. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to keep coming to this one then, because
Oh
I was
yeah.
finding good things there.
I think more resellers too maybe will go to those areas as well. So I feel like the ones that I've been going to are not the greatest part of Oklahoma City. I mean, I found some Todd loafers there a few weeks ago.
Todd's, yes, those are
Yes.
great.
And they had a mark for like $4 and they were, I mean, perfect condition. So I'm like, they're getting a lot of high-end brands. I found several Lafayette, that Lafayette
Lafayette
140.
148. Yep.
Yeah, blazers there last week. J. McLaughlin, that's my new brand I've been trying to find. It's such a great brand that the
I
thrifts
found
really
a dress at that hoarder's house, Jay McLaughlin, for
Huh?
$1. It
Oh
was on
my
that
gosh.
back row where nobody had been yet. So I was like, oh, I'm going to keep looking. There might be more of this.
Oh my gosh. Those will sell for good money.
Yeah.
People will search that brand out. That has a really high sell-through rate too. Um, so I mean, I found fried boots in that one thrift store that's in the lower part of town. So you just never know. I love to look for all of those. That's what I'm looking for is more the high-end brands that I can sell pretty quickly. I found Alden shoes last week for the first time. Have you ever sold
Okay.
Alden?
I have heard of those. Yes.
Yeah, I looked them up. They were each, I mean, new $700 or $800 a pair for dress shoes,
Yeah.
and they were $10 at this thrift store. So I mean,
Nice.
I'm trying to debate like, I cleaned them up with conditioner and there's a water spot on one of them. Do you ever fix those or you just sell them as is?
I just don't really like rescuing shoes.
Oh yeah,
I
you're not a
don't
shoe person.
know. I Some things, yes, it just depends. That's just not the way I want to spend my time rescuing shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's just my personal preference. It's not because like, ooh, they're icky or anything like that. It's just, um, I'd rather polish some silver jewelry or
Oh yeah.
work with shiny things and glittery things like those sequiny sweaters. I'm okay to mend a seam or something like that. I don't know why. I can't get into the shoe thing, but hey, that
I
makes more for everybody else because I'm not buying them.
Well, and for me, I like shoes because they're so easy to list. I can like take like 3 or 4 pictures. I don't like, again, if they're really nasty, I do not get shoes. They have to be pretty good condition, but they're so easy to list. I throw them in a plastic bag and I keep them all. They're pretty easy to ship too. I can
Mhm.
just throw them in a box or throw them in a bag. So I'm kind of leaning towards shoes just because I'm trying to list as many things in my limited amount of time that I have.
Right.
I'm so busy.
Yeah. And whatever works for you that you can do the fastest that's profitable. And
Oh, for
that's
sure.
different for everybody.
Yes. That's why I
So,
so enjoy this podcast because I just learned so much that everyone has their own little thing that they like. And I just like, eBay, you're always learning. You're always learning what's selling. You're always learning just new things. I love it.
well, and I've mentioned that I'm getting into estate sales more and more. And I used to be so intimidated, like, there's not going to be anything left on the last day. Um, I don't like to go on the first day because it's just too expensive.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I'll do the second or third day. And it's just amazing what's still there. Like, I can't believe somebody hasn't bought this. So I feel like I want to tell that to the listeners, like, don't assume anything. Just go and look for yourself because you don't know who's been there before you, what they're interested in, what they don't want to do that you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
That thing could still be there. And it's just, and the same thing for, thrift stores. They're getting a little more challenging, but still, you don't know when it was put out. You don't know who was there before you. Um, like I know a lot of guys and they just want to do, fishing stuff, hunting stuff, mechanical stuff, electronics. They couldn't care less about a sequin sweater, you
Yeah,
know? So it just depends on who was there before you and what
for
they
sure.
know and what they like.
And I 100% agree with that. The other day, I happened to be by a Goodwill, which our Goodwill, I feel like they price things high. All of our dresses are $8.99. All of our shirts are $6.99. But I walked in there, I ended up finding 3 shirts. I've already sold 2 of them. 2 were Anthropology and one was a Free People on half price. They were marked half price. So they've been there a month.
Mhm.
Which it's crazy to me that those were still there and they were on the half price rack on a Saturday, and our colors change on Sunday. So
Mhm.
this is the last day of the half price,
Mhm.
and I still can find good items.
Mhm.
So you never know. Like you never know what people are going to pass up that you as a reseller, like that's worth high dollar.
Right. Now, are you mostly clothing, shoes, and accessories?
Mostly, I mean, again, I have sold everything and anything pretty much. I used to sell those, VCR DVD recorders. I
Yep.
remember going to an estate sale one time in California and it was so expensive. Everything was marked up so much. And I found one of those in like a closet under a whole bunch of other stuff. And they wanted $4 for it or something. And I flipped that for like 100 at the time. They were flipping for really good money.
Right. Right.
But so I always glance at everything. Oh, because of you, I've also started doing plush again. I didn't do plush for all those years.
Uh-huh.
So I do love looking through the plush. And like you said, I try to go through all the plush that I can.
Mhm.
I really like to find vintage, not vintage, but rare Disney plush. I noticed sells good. I
Mhm.
sold an eel from Little Mermaid one time, a long time ago for $75. And I just looked, those same eels, I looked a few weeks ago, are going for like 300 on eBay.
You're
Isn't that
kidding.
crazy?
It's
I know.
almost like we should use eBay inventory like the stock market or, buy and hold.
And
It's so like, because 5 years from now, this is going to be worth 5 times as much.
I
And with
know
vintage items, they're only going to get more valuable. So
for
I
sure.
just don't think you can go wrong. How much is your plush?
Again, it just depends. I was at this one Goodwill in the affluent part of town last week, and they had all their plush marked for 99 cents. And I found a couple of them like Japanese plush with the tags on it for 99 cents. But then I go to some Goodwills and they're marked for 2.99 each, which is crazy. I'm not buying
I
this.
was in a thrift store last week. It's a church charity thrift store, and their plush was $4.50
Oh
for
my
even the
gosh.
little ones. But they had a big sign, 75% off all plush. I'm like, okay, well, I'll do that deal. But
Yes.
the Goodwills here, they're usually 50 cents, and then the other thrift stores are like $1. So that's a game changer because in Atlanta, the plush was really getting marked up. Just one little thing was $2.99 to $4.99, and
Uh,
so I became very picky. Sometimes, if it's cheap enough, it's like I'll just get that and figure it out later. If it's no good, I'll redonate it. And
mhm.
I quit doing that because I'm not going to spend $4 on something that may not work. But yeah, here
It has
they're
to be,
50 cents, and I'm on board with that.
yeah. Like I did pay 2.99 or 3.99 for a Squishmallow because I looked it up and it was a really rare one. I
Mhm.
mean, it still only sold for like $40, but that's and it was pretty quick flip.
Yeah, that was almost 10 times your investment.
Yeah.
So
So like
yeah.
those I will pay up, but my new friend on eBay, if this is the new thing, is that Google lens. That
Yes.
makes it so much easier than back in the day,
Yes, absolutely. Um,
especially with plush. Just taking a picture at the store. I mean, I'll do it right there.
yeah.
I line them all up and I take a picture and just see what they're worth.
Yeah. I mean, why not if you can?
Yeah.
Back to Squishmallows. Do you think those are over?
I don't know. I hear about these resellers that buy them all the time and sell them. I think you have to have a really rare one. To
Hmm.
me, it's very oversaturated. If you look at the how many are listed and how many sold.
Yeah.
What
And
do
I
you think?
remember those coming out around 2018 because I did a class on it for my premium library. It was like, okay, look for these things. And then I did a follow up like last year, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of fizzled out unless you find a rare one. And there's so many copies. There's like Mushmallows and Squishy Friends
Mhm.
and all these different off brands. So when you're looking for those, you have to sift through all the ones that aren't really even Squishmallows
Oh,
anymore.
yeah. I found a
Um,
ton at the bins and took one home and it was a wolf and that one seems to sell for a little bit more, but I don't know. To me, I don't even know if it was worth it. But I mean, I left every other one there and there was probably 50.
mhm.
And no one was really taking them. I just think it's kind of oversaturated for sure.
Yeah, supply and demand. It's equalized now, so it's harder to make money. But there's always something else that's become popular
Yes.
or that is new that sells for a lot. And that's just the way it works in reselling. That as soon as something is launched, I remember Crocs when those first came out.
Yes.
Those were great sellers because they weren't everywhere. And now, same thing, they're everywhere. There's all the off brands, the Walmart brand, the Target brand, Um,
I still sell quite a few Crocs. If
okay.
they're like the wedge sandals, will sell
Uh-huh.
for $35. Not the classic Crocs, unless they have a weird pattern or have a
Or
collaboration.
if they're a really big size,
Yes, yes, for
or
sure.
they're a special like collaboration, like the who's that guy? Mario
Post
Batali
Malone
with the
one?
orange ones, and like
Yes.
all the collaborations they had. But I used to just look for those all the time. And now you look at them, you turn them over. Oh, Walmart brand. Oh, this
Well, and
brand.
I went to a Goodwill and they had them all marked for $15. I was like,
Yeah.
"What? These
What
are
are you
Crocs."
thinking? Yeah, it's crazy. And then you go down the clothing aisle and you find a Jessica McClintock prairie dress for $3 and you're like, yeah, this will sell for 300.
Yes.
So
Oh my
they
gosh. I have found one of those gunny
have,
sack dresses in my life. And I always look. I still have never found a Christy Dawn. Have you heard of that brand? That's a brand I'm really wanting to find. They're like, they sell for $200 to $300.
and is that a vintage brand or what is it?
No, Christy Dawn's like a newer. She's just a designer. They look like prairie dresses though.
Okay.
I just heard about it on other resale websites, and I mean, I followed her on Instagram. Her dresses are beautiful, but
Okay.
they're just very rare. I mean, they're very, very expensive, and they're hard to find.
So like, yeah, when I'm scanning the dress aisle, and it's usually like a whole wall at the thrift store. It's like that St. John knit, because you can tell by the texture of it. The Jessica McClintock prairie dresses. I look for tennis dresses.
Yes, I just started those.
Prana dresses, because they're that's like a yoga brand, but the dresses are great for hiking or travel, and they're very lightweight. And
my husband loves Prana. He calls his Prana pants his men's yoga pants. They're real stretchy.
Okay. Or I look for things that could be used as a costume or cosplay, like sailor dresses. I have this very weird combination of what I'm looking for. Oh, and of course the vintage Lily Pulitzer, like Louis Prizzy found and sold it for $400. The Lily Pulitzer maxi dresses, the vintage ones, so I have my visual things. I don't look through every single dress. I mean, you can just kind of scan.
You can quickly scan. That's how I am too. I'm a speed thrifter. So I usually go look at the shoes. I glance through the dresses. Right now I'm looking at sweaters, coats, those kind of things. If I only have like 30 minutes, then I'm gonna look for the highest. I feel like I can flip for the highest amount. But when dresses are $8.99, but I still the other day found an Anthropologie new with tags dress for $8.99, which I bought that, sold it for $75. I bought a Lily Pulitzer new with tags dress. So I still will sometimes spend $9 on a dress.
Right. It just depends.
If it's worth it. But I'm not buying an Ann Taylor Loft dress like I used to.
Well, you're speed thrifting. I call that express thrifting. And I almost named my BOLO book that express thrifting. But I was like, yeah, a lot of people don't even do thrift stores. They get stuff other places. So, but yeah, you do have to protect your time. Either you're just in there waiting for your kid to finish their lesson or whatever, or you're busy. And people ask me that all the time. If you only had 30 minutes, what would you look for? And it just, if you ask 100 sellers, you're going to get 100 answers. It just depends. 100%. Yeah.
I always look at the new racks that are out. That's my number one thing.
Yeah. And if you
don't let you do
they
it.
yell at you here if you do that.
Oh, they do.
They're like, don't, they come on the announcement thing and, please allow the employee to put the items on the racks. And if there's nobody standing there guarding it, I'll just sort of glance as I walk by. And I did that one time and I found 3 Coogie sweaters.
Oh my gosh.
So like, here I am being a rule breaker. I'm going to do it. I'm looking at those racks.
Oh my gosh. I have found
you're helping the employee because they don't have to put it out because it's in your cart.
Yeah.
You're saving them time. So I feel like I'm really helping when I do that.
Yes. There's a whole chain of the thrift stores I love to go to. And I go there on Tuesdays because they have a military discount, 25% off. But they're fine you looking through the racks. But the Goodwills here will announce they don't want you to look through the racks. They want you to be able to place it first. So
well, and I think there are the vultures. The very inconsiderate, pushy, aggressive shoppers that just stand at the back door waiting for stuff to come out and then they pounce. And it's like, I think that's rude.
Yeah, that is rude.
If the rack's just sitting there at the end of the aisle and no employees working that rack, I don't think
you're helping them out.
It all depends on your approach and just be nice. Or if they say, hey, don't shop on those racks. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
So do you have any other items on your list you want to mention?
Another thing I heard on a YouTube site was look up anything made in England. And last week I found a coat. I never heard the brand before. It was Catherine Hooker and it said made in England. And I looked it up and I guess it's Kate Middleton's favorite brand of coat that she wears.
Oh.
And some of her coats can go for $400 or $500. And I paid $5 for it. But this one was a very small size and it didn't have pockets, which to me was kind of weird for a pea coat. So someone offered me 100 within a few days. So I just took it. No, a few hours on that one. And I just took it.
That's a quick flip.
I know. I love it. So
definitely you are a turn and burn seller.
Yes.
Not a long tail seller. And I'm becoming more of that too, because I just don't want to sit on things for 3 years. I just, I sold something today. I paid $5 for, it was a Coogie sweater, different one.
Oh.
I had it priced at $225 because prices were all over the place. And I kept getting offers, 100, 125. And I said to myself, okay, if I get an offer for 150, I'm going to take it. And would you believe within an hour, I got an offer for 150. I'm like, oh, the eBay gods are listening to me.
That's an amazing flip. That's awesome.
Well, you've done better. So, and I kind of like the turn and burn a little better now.
I do too. And well, for me, I just want to keep everything moving. I don't have a lot of space for it. I try to keep it all in one closet. So every day I go in, my first thing I do is the listings that are ending that day, I, end and sell similar. And I'm always, like I said, I'm adjusting the title, I'm changing stuff around, and I usually lower the price. Now, if it's a sweater, I've kind of been increasing the price because I feel like sweaters are going to be selling better the next quarter. But I'll lower if I've had it for 3 or 4 months, I'll lower the price because I feel like I'd rather just get rid of it and get something new or I don't have a lot of like looks or watchers or whatever, then
I'll just
go ahead and let it go.
I had several watchers on that sweater and then all these low offers. So I raised the price.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Sometimes that can work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. Well, you are going to the bins after we're done recording. So we're going to wrap this up so that you can do that. Which question did you want to answer? Book or podcast or something else?
I will do the book. The book I'm reading right now, I'm getting ready to go to Israel with my dad and my mom and my 2 brothers, which is kind of funny because we're all married with kids. And my dad's a pastor. And we decided this is going to be a trip with my 2 siblings and my parents. We're going to go to Israel in December. So I've been reading the book called The Rock, the Road, and the Rabbi, and I've been listening to it on Audible. I tend to do more audiobooks than read books.
Yeah, you're
busy. Like while I'm in the car or thrifting, I can put my earbuds in and I can listen to those. So it's been great just teaching you about Israel and different things, and we're really excited about that.
Everyone I've known that's taken that trip to Israel or the Holy Land just comes back a changed person. Just it's unbelievable the stuff you see and learn and the people you meet. So
we're very excited.
After Christmas.
We leave the 26th, and I'm not flying standby. We bought tickets. I usually fly standby places. So I'm very excited about having a confirmed seat.
Okay.
And we're going, and my parents had been, they went last year, and then my one brother was going, and then my other brother decided to go. So now we've all decided to make it a family trip. So I'm saving money right now through eBay to help pay for everything. So it's been great, helping pay for extra vacation money and trips like that. So,
and it'll still be Christmassy in some, some places. I mean, it'll be holiday. It'll be Hanukkah stuff and Christmas. I mean, it's all different religions in the Holy Land.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm hoping to get a nativity set from Israel. I've heard those are beautiful.
So the point I'm trying to make is it will be festive, unlike any other time of year. So that'll be fun. Yeah. Good for you.
I'm excited. I wish my kids could go, but we'll go with them later.
Yeah, when they can appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, thanks again for coming on and making time for me in your busy day. And I hope you find lots of treasures, and we'll look for those on the Facebook group.
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's so nice to meet you. You're like celebrity
You too.
Reseller.
Longtime internet eBay friend.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, bye.
Bye. See you later.
And thank you, Bethany. I appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy life to come on the podcast and talk about all things eBay. On to today's trivia question. Since we are now officially in the fourth quarter, gearing up for holiday and winter season sales, the question is, what was the total amount of e-commerce sales in 2022? Here is some time to think about it. Okay, this comes from Forbes. In 2021, retail e-commerce sales in the United States exceeded 360 billion. This figure increased to 431 billion in 2022, and it's expected to grow even further to 511 billion in 2023. So that should be some motivation to get your items listed, because we are part of that statistic. All of our sales matter. And the trend is going up, more and more e-commerce sales every year. So let the floodgates open. Get ready for fourth quarter. Get your items listed. It can't sell if it's not listed. Okay, I'm done preaching. That was supposed to be motivation, not preaching. Okay, that is a wrap for episode 133. Next week's guest is Chuck in Virginia, who has a very interesting story about an item he sold that basically went full circle from the 1970s to now, all with the magic of eBay. And of course, he will share other parts of his eBay journey, so make sure to tune in and meet Chuck. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of this podcast every week, and I will talk to you next week. Happy selling, everybody. Bye.